Oh, when you go live, it doesn't give you the option for recording for some reason. And then you
I
can
got it.
save it after. Yeah, you can save it after. All righty, everybody, we are live. Welcome, 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 everybody. Happy Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year, whatever you call it. Can everybody hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up that you can hear me? Cool, cool, cool. Well, first of all, high 10 first to celebrate the spirit, whether you celebrate the new year or not, but it's still a good opportunity to celebrate, to raise our vibration, right? For me, anybody who knows me by now knows that I love, love, love celebration. It's not about bragging, but it's really a chance to acknowledge our own achievement, right? If you don't have your back, who would have your back, right? So that's why I love, love celebration. Any moment, any given time, anything I achieve, big or small, I celebrate, celebrate. It doesn't matter who celebrates with me or not, and I always do. And so today, amazingly, is actually our first show for 2024, right? And what an amazing time to be for it to be on New Year's Day. Well, for me, Chinese New Year Day, I am very blessed. I have two New Years every year to celebrate, right? Every year I get to celebrate two New Years, everything twice. In fact, every day I get to live my day twice. Do you know why? Because I'm in your future, right? I live my Australian date and then I live the American or European date. Isn't it amazing? I just love how technology allowed me to do that. I literally time travel. And sometimes I even say that I live in the past, the present, and the future all at the same time. Isn't it cool? I am just so blessed. Yes, yes, so blessed. So I just like to make a little sharing a little announcement before we go on to actually do the talk. So our friends in our 3Hearts community know that 3Hearts actually been for 4 years. And over the 4 years, we started with the 3Hearts connections meeting, literally just help people connect with each other and connect with themselves more. And we have transformed lives during COVID. Now, since last year, we have started over a year now, I think, a bit more, the 3Hearts Connection Away speakership. And then we started doing the live show. The whole purpose for this is we're going with the trend, we're going with what people need, right? During COVID, everyone's at home. We focus on ourselves more, we connect with ourselves more. Now that the world's opened up post COVID, we need to connect with each other more for business because every business has been affected. And so the focus is there. So eventually, we build up the speakership. So anybody who's interested about speaking, learning, speaking, whatever about speaking, just contact us, just join us. But today, I also like to share that I'd like to welcome Mr. Davy Williams, our longtime friend and our longtime community member, who's going to be the director of this segment of the 3Hearts Connection Away speakership and also going to be the show host from now on. Every week, I will still tune in wherever I can, whenever I can. But Davy will be the one to run the show. So take it away, Davy. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Awesome.
All
Thank you.
yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. I'm stoked to be doing this with you. Yeah, and for everybody, what Linda's done with 3Hearts Global, every facet, every aspect of it, I have seen this from the very beginning stages and watched it blossom into where it is now. And I know that Linda is one of the hardest working human beings I've ever come across. I actually just asked her before we went live if she even went to bed last night because she is like a nonstop machine. And look, she's giggling. She can't stop giggling. And that is a woman. The joy that that woman has, it resonates through everything that 3Hearts represents. So when she approached me about the opportunity to do the show, obviously I was happy to do it. My schedule is absolutely bonkers, which all of ours is. But the thing that I'm looking forward to the most with this is now Christopher is over there, good friend of mine, an amazing rock star dude. We have an opportunity to bring together some of the brightest minds in their respective fields with unique stories, with unique acumen, educationally and theoretically, in how they approach their lives and their businesses. And I love that concept. And Linda's giving spirit is unrivaled. So for me, as a speaker, as an international keynote speaker, this is really cool for me to do. Now we're a little. Some of our speakers are going to be a little delayed getting here, but I look at that as a blessing in disguise, because the gentleman that is sitting, at least where I'm staring, I've got Linda to my right. I've got Christopher, is he's on that side. He's somewhere over there in California. I want to thank Christopher before we do anything, because he was actually the first person that I reached out to when I let him know that Linda had offered me this opportunity and that I was going to be hosting the show now. Chris was the first guy that I reached out to for a reason. And you're all, if you don't know him, you're about to find out why. So our topic as we kick off this new year, and as Linda said, happy Chinese New Year to everybody that celebrates it. And don't be scared that Linda lives in the future. She's not a Terminator. She's not coming back to cause any damage. She just lives in the future, and everybody in Australia does. So today's topic, this is a cool topic. I really dig this, is how to achieve your goals with the least resistance. Now, this is a very deep topic, which is also why Chris was the first guy that I had reached out to, because I know his work very well. I know him. And I'm excited for him to share his input. So even though some of our speakers are going to be delayed getting on, I'm still going to run with the flow that I had intended for this. So, Christopher, first and foremost, from the bottom of my heart, brother to brother, thank you for taking me up on this and for being part of this. I can't thank you enough, first and
Oh, hell
foremost.
yeah. No, dude, it's a
Secondly,
pleasure to be here. And when you reached out, I was truly honored to be a part of this. I mean, obviously, we've done these things with Linda in the past, and I'm all about anything that has something to do with heart and love and passion and sharing our gifts with the world and making this world a better place. So anytime you need that, you can always count on me.
I knew I could, and I knew you were going to jump on this. So, dude, this one, this topic, I'll share my 2 cents a little bit later, but I figure one of the things, let's make this easy for everybody, because this is a very deep topic. It can be a very complicated topic. You and I are both very simple people. We're both very simple with our approach. We are no nonsense and no BS. So I figured one of the best ways for us to get this rocking and rolling, first, tell everybody a little bit about you, because I think there's going to be people now that we're doing this live that may not know you as well as I do, as well as Linda does, that may not know your name as well as I do. Tell
Sure.
everybody kind of a little bit about what you do, and from there, give people a couple nuggets, as you and I would call them, on some tips on how, in your world, you can see people at being able to achieve their goals with the least amount of resistance.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Davey. Thank you, Linda, for having me here. I appreciate everybody else out there watching. I appreciate you guys. One of the big things that I want to stress in this conversation that we're having with you guys out there in TV land and everything else is ask questions. Like, this is an opportunity. I know we're broadcasting live on Facebook. I put it out there to all my fans and everybody. Ask questions of us. I think Davey can be able to see those questions and we can answer those for you, because the biggest thing is for us to be able to impart something to you guys out there watching and listening to this that you can start taking action on every single day in your life, that you can find that way to really honestly take imperfect action. And that's one of my biggest things that I'm banging the drum on these days, is so many times we're thinking about the perfection. Everything's got to be perfect. It's got to match my expectation. And when I think about this conversation, I think about the word in the title, right? When we identify the word in the title, what's the big word that comes up is resistance, right? Ooh, resistance. And we could dive deep into that. But to answer your question, thank you for having me here. I'm Christopher Rausch. I'm known as the No Excuses Coach. I've been known as that for quite some time, because when you think about resistance, what's one of the first things that comes up in resistance is our excuses, right? I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I'm not smart enough. I mean, insert any possible excuse you could possibly have in there, and that becomes the resistance to meeting the goals. And so for me, the reason why I'm the No Excuses Coach is because at the age of 13 years old, I came home from school one day and found out that we were getting evicted from our house. And so for the 4 ensuing years, I lived homeless. I lived in the backseat of a station wagon with a lot of cats and a lot of dogs, with a mother with various psychological disorders. Through those 4 years, I experienced a lot of traumatic situations that caused me to want to give up many, many times over. And fortunately, I tried to kill myself twice and I sucked at it. So I'm very thankful that it wasn't my time to go and I'm still here breathing. But ultimately, I did have to get to a point in all of that drama and all of that chaos and uncertainty. I really had to get to a point where I had to get real about my life. And this is the thing that I want to impress upon you guys out there being listening and watching this. We are all going to die. You're going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to be 55 in a couple of weeks. Time is not guaranteed to us, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't say that to be dire. I say that to be a leverage producer for you, because when you think about it, if you died tomorrow, who would show up and what would they say about you? And so when you think about that, when I think about the resistance to the goals, oftentimes people have the wrong goals. People have a surface level goal that they think they want to achieve because it's going to solve some symptom of something that they're dealing with. Oh, if I lose weight, then okay, no, we have to really get deeper with our goals. And for me, what I had to do is I had to realize the reality of the situation. And this is what I call the AAA. We have to be aware, we have to accept, and then we have to take action. So I want you guys to think about the AAA: awareness, acceptance, and action. And acceptance isn't saying that it's not somebody else's responsibility, but we're saying we're accepting the situation we're in. I was homeless. I was doing drugs. I was drinking. I was fighting. I was stealing. I was working my butt off, doing all these different things. But when I got to that point where I'd had enough, right? And we have to all think about that. When will you have had enough of the situation that you're in? That's proactive leverage. It's not reactive leverage where you get in that situation and react. It's proactive leverage. And I had to sit there and look like, I'm going to get out of this situation in one of three ways. I'm going to go to jail because I was doing bad things with bad people. I'm going to die because I was doing bad things with bad people. Or I'm going to have to take responsibility for my life and make some very, very, very excruciatingly painful decisions. And I'm not here to blow smoke up your guys' skirt. The things and the situations that you might have to deal with in your life. Maybe you're in a bad marriage. Maybe you're in a bad job. Maybe your health is super bad. This is not going to be an overnight situation where you're going to be able to snap your fingers and say, Toto, I want to be back home. I want to be thin. I want to have a great job. I want to have a great relationship. I want to be whatever. This is going to take time. And that's the resistance, because your brain's going to want to stay safe. Your brain's going to want to stay certain. It's going to want to stay comfortable. But one of my things that I advocate big time to you guys is to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And the people that I've interviewed and talked to in my life, and they're successful in their life, everything that they have in common, number one, is they have a morning ritual of how they take care of themselves. Then they get themselves prepared for the day, because we want to be in a proactive state, right? So oftentimes we're in a reactive state. We look at our phone, we see the news, there's going to be traffic, the boss is going to be an asshole, all these different things are going to happen. And we set ourselves up to have a shitty day, and we achieve that. And then we get to go home and bitch about it and repeat the process over and over again until someday, which is not on a calendar, by the way, we get tired of the things that we're in. And so fortunately for me, getting to that point, realizing that I didn't want to go to jail and I didn't want to die. Long story short, I got myself what's called a GED, which is a general equivalency diploma. I did that in about 6 months. I made up seventh grade to high school in about 3 to 6 months. Got my GED. I went to college. I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared shitless. I had no idea. And I spent 12 years in college. I spent 12 years. I got my associate's degree. I followed it up my bachelor's degree, and then I got my master's degree. At the same age, I bought my first house. And so when you talk about resistance, I was told I was stupid my entire life. I was bullied and I was beaten by the kids of my block, the kids at my school, my own parents, my own mom. I didn't know my dad. So the resistance of thinking I was stupid, having no self-confidence, and taking that imperfect action every single day to achieve the things that I've achieved in my life, and to be able to help so many people, the thousands and thousands of people I've helped over the 25 years I've been coaching. I've been coaching before the term life coach even became a thing. And I've helped so many other people destroy that resistance, because that resistance is self-sabotage. And the reason why you're self-sabotaging is because you don't have enough love for yourself. And so when you peel back the onion, you got to take care of yourself first. Number one, the 5 things I'm going to call it: hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and vitamin D. Again, hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, vitamin D. And you got to take care of those 5 things every single day. You got to drink half your body weight in ounces of water. If you're not drinking water, guess what? You're dehydrated. When you're dehydrated, you feel like shit. When you feel like shit, you go to your short-term gratifications. And guess what? You repeat the process over and over again until you wind up being a diabetic and losing a limb. And then you realize, oh, maybe I should change my things that I'm doing with my life. The thing that we want to get across to you today, myself, Davey and Linda and the other speakers, is you can take those proactive actions. You can make that decision today to decide for yourself, to love yourself, and to stop tolerating the BS in your life. Stop tolerating the people that take advantage of you. Stop being a doormat. Ask yourself, when did it become acceptable to let everybody take advantage of me? When did it become acceptable to not love myself first? When did it become acceptable? It never should be acceptable. So if it's not acceptable, then start making those actions today. And every single week, I'm not going to ask you to get uncomfortable every single day. Once a week, get out of your comfort zone, get way out of your comfort zone, get freezing cold, get naked, whatever you got to do. But in 52 weeks, if you repeat that process every single week, guess what's going to happen? The compound interest for your confidence of saying, wow, I thought that was going to be this horrible and it wasn't. I thought that was going to be this horrible and it wasn't. I guess things aren't going to be as horrible as I think they are if I have the right mindset to say, hey, I'm excited about getting uncomfortable. I'm excited about to see where I'm going to grow. I'm excited to see who I'm going to become. And I'm excited to see who I'm going to surround myself with. Right? You got to change your perspective. If you continue to do what you've always done, you're going to continue to get what you've always got. That's Dr. Wayne Dyer. And so I know I just went on there for a minute, but I want to give you an opportunity to ask questions. But that's kind of what I wanted to say to him. I mean, it's really, there's so many different aspects of it, overcoming the fear of failing and making mistakes. It's, if you change your perspective and see it as opportunities to grow and to be excited about these things instead of being fearful of it, changing your perspective changes your attitude, which changes your actions, which changes your beliefs, which changes your neurology, and which creates a different you over a period of time. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Chris. Coming to you live from the studio here in Central Florida.
It's raining in California. Oh my God, no.
I know it is, and you haven't floated away yet, which I'm great. I know that our heart breaks for the people in California very quickly. Let's put this
Jesus,
in
in San Diego,
perspective.
yeah.
What's happening in California right now is an absolute disaster. And
Horrifying.
those people are fighting something that is way bigger than resistance in their lives and their businesses. So one, I'm grateful that you and your family, you guys are good. I know where you're at. I know you're seeing a lot of water, but I know that you're good.
Yeah.
We know that there's a lot of people that are not good. So one of the
Mhm.
things that I love about everything that Christopher just ran through and why he was literally the first person that I wanted to have on to talk about this topic. One, he's a great interview. Let's call it what it is. Two,
Thank you.
he's Dave Grohl's doppelganger. For those of you that don't know who Dave Grohl is and live under a rock, he's the lead singer of Foo Fighters, and that's
I
been
just
a joke
posted
with
that
Chris
about
and I
20 minutes ago too.
for a
I'm
long
on Dave
time.
Grohl's side.
That's been a running thing with Chris and I. And we have this thing that we do when we see each other on camera, and that is we do this thing where we're flexing there.
Here, I gotta.
That's what
I'll
this
even
guy
roll.
brings.
I'll roll it up.
There he goes.
There's the microphone.
Yeah.
So we do the
So
mic
if you
drop.
see his arms start flopping, he's dropping the mic. He's
Dropping the
doing
mic.
mic drops.
Yeah.
So in that, there were a couple things that I'm going to have you follow up on, but I thought there were some really
Cool.
powerful aspects to that.
You got it.
Bad things with bad people. You were at a point in your life where you're doing bad things with bad people. And there
Yeah.
are a lot of people who are going to hear what we're discussing today, and they are in the exact same position. And I think something very powerful for people to understand, another word to use, it's one of my favorite words, is perspective.
Yeah.
Now, when you're with bad people doing bad things, the perception is that's normal. The perception is I'm never going to get out of this. The
Right.
perception for a lot of people is that this is never going to change. Even if I want to get out, I'm going to be stuck in it. So, this gentleman right here just gave you all of his educational accolades. And I want to say he is one of the smartest guys I've ever come across. And his delivery is stupid simple.
Thank you.
Somebody that can simplify things the way that Chris does is a gift from God, the universe, whatever deity it is that you believe in. When you
Thank
talked
you, brother.
about the
That means a
bad
lot.
things with bad, I mean it from the bottom of my heart, and you know that.
Thank you.
Your story is just, the respect I have for your story and what you've done with your life and your career. So with me, it's about shifting perception into perspective. And
Yep.
that boils down to one thing, believe it or not, a very simple word, and that is choice. You made
Yes.
a choice to get now. That is something when we talk about achieving goals with the least resistance. Realistically, if you break all of that down pragmatically into one word, it boils down to choice. It boils down to making a choice. Now,
So true.
you also said something very powerful, and I'm going to bring this all back and let you follow up on what you had said. I
Cool.
love the thing about once a week getting yourself uncomfortable and not
Yep.
doing it every day. So one of the things from my perspective, when people talk about how to achieve goals with the least resistance, you cannot avoid obstacles. You cannot avoid resistance. It's going to be there no
Mhm.
matter what it is, whether it's in your life or your business. It is part of life and business, and you have to accept that. And that
Yep.
was
And it
actually
goes
one
like
of the
this. It
words.
goes nee, 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 nee,
Exactly.
nee.
It's taunting us, right? But think of, I want everybody that's watching this and that will go back and watch this to think about the simplicity in what Chris said. If once a week you put yourself in a position to be uncomfortable, comfortably uncomfortable, as we like to call it, if you do that over the span of 365 days, that means 52 times a year, you are shifting your perspective.
Mhm.
So imagine you're the person that is stuck doing bad things with bad people, whatever that may be. It could be similar to what Chris was going through. It could just be the situation that you find yourself in.
Yeah.
52 times doing that in a year. Imagine the results that you can get. That is one of the ways that you take the resistance factor and turn it into the goal factor.
Mhm.
So when you talk about bad things with bad people, and you're talking about shifting your perspective, and you're talking about once a week getting uncomfortable, there's something very powerful in your story. But can you give people an idea, if you're willing to? I know your story and I know your level of, and you are as transparent as they come. You and I are two peas in a
Oh yeah.
pod with that. Um, in that moment when you realized, like, okay, I'm either going to die, or I'm going to die, or I'm going to prison and I could still die. You're right. That's
Right.
not morbid. That's the reality of life.
It
What
is.
did you personally like? What triggered you? There had, it could have been a moment, it could have been a situation, it could, whatever it was. And I know you know what I'm saying. Give everybody, because there are people that are going to watch this, man, that this is really going to resonate with, right?
Right.
So you gave them the overall perspective shift, but give them an idea of how someone like you that was facing the resistance that you were turned that into a goal, something particular, something directly related to you. Like, how did you come to the realization that you did to shift? Pardon our French, Linda. Chris and I are two peas in a pod. How did you shift your shit to go from potty shit to doing real world awesome shit? How did that happen
Hmm.
in your world, in your situation? How did that happen?
Leverage. There was 9 millimeters of leverage pointed at my face. I think that's what you're alluding to. I think you knew that,
Yeah,
that story.
I do.
I used to smoke cigarettes. I used to smoke a lot of cigarettes. And I was walking back into this motel that my mother and I were staying at, shall we say. Periodically, we would stay at motels, and we found this super, super, super cheap, nasty, drug infested, prostitute filled motel, not too far from Disneyland, the greatest place on earth, which I'm going to Sunday, which is always fun for me to go back in that neighborhood and go, wow, I used to be homeless right here, literally down the block, right down the street from Disneyland. And I was walking back through the back part of the motel. And the back part of the motel, the lights were all busted out, and there was some carports. So all the action was happening in the front part, but all the people would hang out in the back part selling drugs and whatnot and prostitution and shit like that. I didn't care. I just fucking walked through them. And so I was walking back, and some guy goes, "Hey man, I got a carton of Reds. Hey, I got a carton of Reds." And I was like, and I was long, super long hair, leather jacket, beard. I was 17 years old at that point. And I was like, oh no, man, it's cool. It's cool. I think I might have had headphones on. I can't remember this part of the story. For some reason, out of all the times I've told this story, the other day I was thinking, what did I have headphones on? But anyways, I said, no, 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 I'm cool. And then he came walking over to me as I was walking in, and he stopped in front of me, and he goes, what is it? He goes, why don't you want these cigarettes? He goes, I know you smoke, and I know you, all white people smoke Marlboro Red. So what is it? Is it because I'm black? And I'm kind of giving you the Eclipse version because there was more stuff
Yeah,
in between.
yeah, yeah,
And I looked at him, and I said, dude, and I think I had my headphones on now. It's weird that I've told the story so many times, but I think I told him, I said, dude, I grew up in Inglewood. I grew up as the only white kid in a black neighborhood. I said, I don't care what fucking color your skin is. I said, all my friends are black and dark and all sorts of different things. I said, I don't smoke Reds. And I reached into my back pocket to grab my cool menthol cigarettes, which traditionally my black friends smoked. And I went to reach in there. And as soon as I went to reach in, I kind of went to look back. And as soon as I went to bring my head back over here, there was a 9 millimeter gun pressed to my forehead. And I thought it was some sort of joke. It's something like you're just living in a dream. And I just went to reach back, and I had the cigarettes, and I went, what the? And he goes, oh, he goes, it's, you go, yeah, he goes, I went to prison for people like you, and da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, dude, chill out, dude, chill. Here's the cigarettes, here's the cigarettes. And as soon as I said that, my friend Will came running out. This other black dude that I knew that me and my mom helped. He had just got out of jail. Unfortunately, we're nice people. He came and he's like, no, him and his moms are cool. Him and his moms are cool. And I was stuck in the back corner of a carport where you could not see anything. And literally, when he put that gun to my head, I thought, pull the fucking trigger, pull it. Bullet, I'm done. I'm done. I cannot do this anymore. I'd been through the physical abuse, the spiritual abuse, the mental abuse, every type of thing. I'd been pushed to my edge. So to answer your question, the leverage that was created in that moment, I didn't want to disappoint my mom. I didn't want to abandon my mom. Everybody in my life had abandoned her, including her daughter, including her husband, including my biological father. Everybody had, and I just was like the only person there to help her. And she was living in this crazy place. But the leverage of me realizing that my destiny in life was not to wind up in jail, was not to wind up dead. There had to be a greater purpose for everything that I'd experienced, even in when I was a baby, all the different stuff. And so all of that caused me to get to this point where I opened my mind to the idea that perhaps I deserved more. Right, Davey? When I'm thinking about it, I deserve more. I don't deserve to get punished and be treated like this and to be humiliated and everything else. I deserve, you had your life. You're making poor decisions. And so I told God, Source, Universe, I'm not a religious person. I didn't grow up around religion, but in a way, I just kind of threw up my arms. My friends would always tell me, like, give it to God, give it to God, give it to, I don't understand how that is. I don't, and I just kind of just surrendered it in a way. And then a couple of days later, me and my buddy who I had met at the motel, we were telemarketing out of this guy's apartment in Huntington Beach. He had downsized his office and he just kept me and him on as telemarketers. And so we went to work one day in this apartment. It's not creepy. It was roofing appointments. And this guy, Norman, this amazing guy named Norman said, hey, I know you guys have been trying to get out of that motel. He goes, I got bad news and I got good news. And I looked at him and I said, I've had enough bad news to last a lifetime. And I was 17. And he's like, I totally get that. He goes, listen, I got to shut up. I got to close up shop because I'm going to move to Texas, but I want to leave you my apartment and I want to leave you so you guys don't have to come up with the down payment and everything else. He goes, you guys are good guys. He goes, I feel bad. I got to let you go. I'm going to give you 2 weeks pay, but you can have the apartment. I've already cleared it with the landlords and stuff like that. And it was like $850 in Huntington Beach, California, Surf City, California. Right. I actually just passed the apartment a couple of weeks ago and I was like, wait a minute. I was on the back side of it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the Huntington Apartments. Oh my God, that's right there. I hadn't been down in that neighborhood in so long, but I just immediately I felt this sense of the situation. And I got in that moment, I was like, oh my God, we can do this. Me and Robert looked at each other like, oh, we can get some people here and everything else. And I realized I'm like, my mom's not going to let me do this. And then I realized again, she doesn't have that control over me. Right. And the thing I want to mention to people out there listening to this is there's a great book out there that changed my life. And I'm a big fan of reading. There's been so many books that have changed my life. I was just talking about on my show the other night, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He survived a Holocaust. And in that book, it's a dry read, I'll tell you that, guys. But in the crux of it, about the middle part of the book, he gets to this point and he talks about all these things that he's endured in the Auschwitz, concentration camp, and all the humiliating, degrading, painful things that he had been through. And he says, "Listen, guys," he goes, "they can do all these things to me, but they cannot make me feel anything that I don't choose to let them feel." I choose to let, I can sit there and I can focus on the fact that I believe I'm going to get out of the situation. I can visualize the fact that I'm going to be reunited with my family. And that choice, so many times we give that choice away. We think that it's not even our choice. Like, oh, I'm stuck here and I have to do this and I have no other opportunity. I have no other choice. I had a lady on my show, Monica Kretschmer. She was very well off and she was married to a financially well person. She had a 7-month-old kid. The abuse got too much, and she went to the shelter that she used to donate money to and said, I need to stay here. And she rebuilt her life. So when you say you don't have any choices, you always have some choice. Back to you. Hope I answered that question.
You did, and there was a reason. I know you're always transparent about the story that you have, and yeah, I know your story pretty well. One of the things that I want everybody that's watching this and is going to go back and watch the replay to understand about the power that Chris's story offers. When we talk about how to achieve your goals with the least resistance, people often aren't clear enough with themselves on what their goals were. Now, at that point in Chris's life as a 17-year-old, and he's in a situation that he's in now, I didn't live in California. However, there is something that I did grow up on and got to be very comfortable with in understanding the lifestyle of where Chris was coming from. I was big into hip hop and R&B growing up. I got into rock a little bit later. So a lot of the influences musically that I had in my life, well, they were from Englewood and that
Mhm.
area, and they would talk about
110th
stories of
Street.
Englewood. Absolutely, brother. So the really cool thing here is we're gonna have so many people that are gonna watch this and they're gonna think, well, we're gonna have a very astute people up here, prim and proper, telling us about how to make our goals happen with no resistance, right? And that's why I love the title of this, because people are going to assume that there is a way to go get their goals with no resistance, or they're going to find an easy way. What Chris's story proves so brutally obvious and blatantly right in front of everybody he just shared this with, and he has shared this with millions and millions of people. Choice is not easy, but it is simple. And I am a firm
Well
believer
said, brother.
that,
Well said, man. It's just take
thank
that
you,
ownership.
my story is different than, I didn't have that growing up. So when Chris talks about all the things that he had growing up, I'm going to shift that for people and share a little bit about what I went through. And this is hilarious because
Good.
here's a dude that went through this stuff as a young adult, a young man, a child in essence, all the way up into his young adult years. And he told you what he did. Got the GED, went to school, one of the smartest guys I know. Now,
Thank you.
some people, if you can relate to that story on a literal level, you should really take into heart what he says, because for him to go from where he was to where he got to, that is not only achieving your goals with the least resistance, that is achieving your goals with the highest level of resistance, but making that resistance the least important part of his process. And that is a critical learning tool for people with that. Bingo. Absolutely
Mic
toot on
drop,
that
big
one.
time. Well said, brother.
So another thing that I want people to really understand, and I know that Chris Salem will be joining us soon. One of the things that I know for a fact that people misunderstand. They talk about goals and they talk about dreams.
Yeah,
Now, people
true.
often put the two of those together, right? They put, I'm chasing my dreams, so I'm chasing my goals. Let me shift that for people. Your dreams don't matter for squat.
Mhm.
Your dreams are just that, unless you understand how to make them goals. See, dreams are something that you chase, goals are something that you can physically embrace. So,
Mhm.
Chris had dreams of not being in that situation for the rest of his life, right? But he figured out a way to simplify his perspective and simplify his ability to choose for himself. And he took that and made it into pragmatic goals, and look at what he's accomplished. So for a lot of
Mhm.
people that are going to watch this, now maybe you don't literally relate to what Chris was talking about, but metaphorically speaking, theoretically speaking, this is something everybody should be able to grip onto and understand.
The hero's
Resistance is
journey.
going to be there, but it's not the most important thing unless you enable it to be the most important thing. You're not
Mhm.
going to avoid resistance. So, do you face it? Do you run away with it? So, a lot of people, that's what they do. They see resistance and they say, oh, my dream is to be a keynote speaker. My dream is to own a yacht and a mansion and fly on private jets and do those are all my, those are not tangible goals. So, take a
Right.
look at Chris's story. Was it a dream to get a GED? No, that was a goal. Was it a dream to go to college? Nope, he made that a goal. Was it a
Mhm.
dream to achieve a bachelor's? Nope, that was a goal. Was it a dream to go above and beyond that educationally? Nope, that was a goal. So, one of the things that you can do to avoid resistance, even though it's going to be there, but to simplify it and give it the least amount of your attention, is to break down your goals, which was something else that was very powerful that Chris had mentioned earlier. And that was
Mhm.
in your morning routine. And
Yes.
this is a guy I can assure everybody, when it comes to your commitment to your morning routine, this dude's got it down pat. And
Religious.
Linda is another great example of this. Linda has routines and she lives in the future. So it's kind of unfair because she can foresee her routine before
Mhm.
it actually happens because she lives in the future. But with me, while we wait for Chris Salem to get here, with me, I had the complete opposite childhood. I grew up in a good house. I'm the oldest of four boys. I'm the shortest, smartest, sexiest, savviest of all four boys, no matter what my brothers may or may not say.
Mm,
My late mother, God bless her and God rest her soul, my
mm,
mom raised four boys, dedicated, gave up a very lucrative and happy career to raise four boys. My father went out and worked. My dad was present. I was raised. My joke with my family is always I was born on third base. I was given a silver spoon. Well, it's Davey's nature to run back to first base. And it's Davey's nature to take the spoon and say, well, you know what? That bowl of soup is probably going to be easier to eat with a fork. So
mm.
what I did was I didn't have the struggles growing up to turn it into something. I had everything at my fingertips at a young age into a young adulthood. And then here's what happened. I started to have dreams. I started to chase dreams. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, my life fell apart. So where there's a portion of Chris's life where he was homeless, there was a portion in my life that some people who know my story may or may not know. I lived out of a van for a portion of my life. And I did that while my wife, her career was thriving, and there was no reason that my hiccups should have caused us any issues. When my wife would travel for business, I stayed in a U-Haul van in the parking lot of her company, and they
Wow.
never knew that. So here I was with the world as my oyster. I have all these opportunities in front of me, right? And I found a way to screw the pooch. The way that I was able to achieve the goals, my goals with the least resistance, you talked about something else was leverage and people. And what
Mhm.
perfect timing for the stud that just joined us on camera, whose story I know very well also, is Mr. Salem. So I'm going to get Chris caught up while he gets himself situated. Christopher Rausch, you are a freaking rock star, bro, and I love you from the bottom of my heart. Thank
Thank you,
you
man. Thank
for
you. I
your
appreciate it.
transparency.
It was a blast. It was a blast. There's one other little thing I just want to make sure I stress to people.
Absolutely.
When you said people, that is one of the reasons why I'm sitting here today is surrounding myself with people like yourselves, investing in myself. I had to let a lot of people go in my journey, and as part of those
Yep.
decisions that we have to make, then and that resistance, I had to wish people well. I had to wish my sister well back in 2005. So surround
Yeah.
yourself with the right people who push you and want to see you successful and want to see that is massively important. If I had tried to still do it by myself, I would probably still be comfortably miserable in a day job. But because I always surround myself with people who are bigger and brighter that aren't afraid to tell me the truth, it's pretty incredible what you can achieve. And I'm looking forward to see what my fellow brother Chris has got to in store for us. What's up, man? Good to see
And
you.
Chris,
and
good seeing
before
you, man.
and
Yeah.
Davey,
All
you're
before
right.
also the great host
Chris,
and moderator. And
Chris
hey,
I was
Salem.
just gonna say before Christopher Rausch takes off, I just want to
Oh
share
no,
with you.
I'm here until I got
He's
until
staying.
2:15, so we're
Oh,
good.
okay. I thought you
Yeah.
were gonna go off because I had
No,
to.
he's not floating away. He's not paddling away. The water's
Okay,
below
okay.
him.
I
He's
want to
fine.
answer questions and we have time. I'm here for another half
Cool,
an hour at
cool,
least.
cool. Okay, I
Yeah.
thought you were gonna take off, and I was gonna share my 3C, and one of them is community. That's what I thought I'd butt in before you take off. But here's Christopher Salem. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for making time to join us. I'll hand you back to Davey.
Well, just so the world knows, Mr. Salem and I are so well versed on these types of routines. I'll give him the introduction. I'm going to edify him because, on a personal note, it drives the dude nuts when I talk about how awesome he is. And he's going to start laughing in about 3 seconds. See, it's already starting. The grin is starting. He's going to start leaning down. He's going to scratch his leg and he's going to start laughing. That's how well I know Chris Salem. He's my big brother, not biologically, but by adoption. Um, Chris Salem is as and Roush, what you said at the end there is critical. So Chris Salem, to get you caught up before I introduce you to everybody, Chris shared his story of where he had come from and the background that he had. And he talked about things like shifting your perspective. He talked about things like he was in bad situations with bad people and gave some tips on how to really achieve your goals with the least resistance because at the end of the day that resistance is always going to be there. Now, for everybody that doesn't know Chris Salem, if you live under a rock, he is by trademark, he is America's prospreneur. But not only that, He is, in my opinion, humble opinion, and I am biased because I love this man with all of my heart. He is one of the most brilliant business strategist the world will ever see. He is a business acceleration strategist. He is an international keynote speaker. He is a best selling author internationally. He is also one of the kindest, most down to earth, transparent leaders you're ever going to come across. And every time that he brings insight, it will floor you because he has a way of getting you to understand things in a simple manner that you can implement. Just like Christopher Rausch spent his time breaking it down, and you can correlate that to life and business. Chris Salem is one of my best friends. He is one of the greatest men I've ever known in my life. Every conversation that we have, we end it with, I love you, because there is genuine love in our relationship. Now, Salem, I know you're driven nuts because I just told everybody how freaking awesome you are. And well, guess what, dude? You know me, tough shit. You're going to have to deal with it. Um, the topic is how to achieve your goals with the least amount of resistance. So, the way that I'd like to do this, and you threw me for a loop, which is always good with you because you're always good at throwing me for loops sometimes. I had a great mentor that taught me how to pick that up. Wink, wink. Um, if you don't mind, Chris, I told everybody kind of what you did. For the audience that doesn't know you, which could be hard to believe, but for anybody that doesn't know you, just kind of give them a little bit of who you are, what all of the fancy titles that I told everybody you have mean. And then before we get into anything deep, just give them a couple of ideas in your world as a life and business expert in strategies and what you do for a living, whether it's with speakers or businesses or whatever,
Yep.
some tips on how to physically achieve their goals
Yep.
with the least amount of resistance. Because this is so far, this is like right up your alley. You can just take over the bus at this point.
Yeah, I'll try to do this as fast as I can because there a lot of this stuff can be covered, in depth easily in a 2-hour workshop. So I'll look to
Yes.
condense this. And thank you, Davey. And great to see Chris here. Chris always brings so much value, because everybody here
Yeah.
is walks the talk. They're a product of their transformation and their example and resourcefulness just speaks volumes. It's not just words, it's reflected in their energy, their body language, and their tonality, and the words as well, but just all of the above. So thank you guys for all you do. So when it comes to goals, the thing about goals is goals are great, but a lot of times people will have goals, but they're very vague. It's kind of like I want to be rich, or I want to be healthy, or I want to drive a nicer car. It's just think about that word when you hear want. I want, or I need. When you think about those words, want and need, if I were to say to everybody with those words alone, do you think that if you want something and you need something, are you going to be more in control to achieve that goal with that word? Or are you going to be caught up in more things that are beyond your control with those words? Think about it. When you face something that now is out of your control, it's going to sideline you. It's going to distract you. That's why New Year's resolutions often go unfulfilled, why people don't normally achieve their goals, because they're so caught up in the things they can't control, because they want things. When the time is right. I want it when people will just follow through. And when they do, I'll finally make it happen. The reality is that when you are caught up in the control you can't control, it's going to be very difficult or very slim you will achieve your goals. It's only when you are focused on what you can control. So what I'm going to share is words like want and need are codependent in nature. They're caught up in the things that you can't control. They're tied to expectations, to outcomes that are often, again, beyond your control. And when your energy and your focus is there, that's exactly what's going to happen. But when you now substitute words like I am or I will, those types of words, or leading with an action word, that type of thing, those are the things that are going to put you more in control of what you control. Those are the things that are going to allow you to focus from intentions, which you can control, versus now expectations that you can't. It's those intentions, trusting the process, and letting go of what you can't and trusting that process that will lead to those results. Now, getting back to goals, they're very oftentimes very vague. They're vague. So the thing is, you got to be really clear on what your goal is. You got to make it very specific. I will generate $1,250,000.32, and I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. That's more specific. It's more generic. Chris, you got something there, or I thought
We
you
just
were
had a
doing
California earthquake right now.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No, we've been having a bunch of earthquakes right now. It's getting kind of
Wow.
freaky. But yeah, right now it's just like, oh, sorry. Back
Wow.
to you in the studio. I was just like,
Thank you.
do I get up and run?
Okay, my friend. And I know you guys are going through a lot of stuff out there with weather and now, oh my God,
Yeah.
God forbid it, I hope it's not an earthquake. But that being said, this is why these goals have to be broken down into specific, measurable, attainable, achievable, relevant, and time-oriented. This, again, you've heard the SMART goal. That's the acronym. They got to be broken down. And the reason why a lot of times people don't achieve goals because they don't have systems and processes in place. So they get caught up in the whole thing. I got to achieve this. Oh my God, how am I going to generate $2 million in my business? Oh, and then they're caught up there rather than bringing it into the moment. What can I do now that's going to allow me to generate $1,000 today? I'm still aiming for the 2 million, but I'm here now. What systems and processes can I put in place? So when you learn how to use systems using either other resources, using certain tools, leveraging your weaknesses with other people where there's strengths, so you can work on your business, not in it. Those are the things that are going to allow you to eventually achieve your goals. Now, let me go back before I get into some of the ways that you can go about doing this. I want to get back to what we can control versus what we can't control, because this is very important. There are things that we can't control. So Davey, Chris, Linda, what do you think are some things we can't control? Just anything, just something, just a couple things.
Other people's reactions and actions.
Chris just summed it up right there. I mean, we don't have to, with the weather, the traffic, earthquakes, mudslides, we can't control all that, right? So, but Chris just said it, other people. We can't control other people. Now we're going to park that for a minute because we're going to go back to that. Now, another thing we can't control, Chris just experienced possibly some tremors in an earthquake. Can Chris control that situation? The only thing he could probably do is just, ride it out, or God forbid, if it gets really bad, he's going to have to go seek shelter and do what he can to protect himself and his family. That's all he can do. He can't stop the earthquake. But there are things that we can control. And and even while there's more than these things I'm going to share, these are the 5 key areas that we could control. Number 1 is our communication to ourselves. How do you feel like how you communicate to yourself, do you think that will impact how you communicate effectively to another human being? Chris is nodding. Yep. So and in essence, like if you're communicating from your inner critic, I'll make it simple, your inner critic and then your inner champion. If you're listening to your inner critic, those self-limiting beliefs, you could have a smile on your face. You can look like, hey, I'm really calm. He's a good guy. He looks confident. And meanwhile, do you think that's going to come out in a negative way with your communication to other people and situations? Yes. Here's why. It's going to come out either in a passive or aggressive style of communication. When you are passive, you are oftentimes a yes person. You say yes to everything. And when you say yes to everything, you take on more than you can chew. And the reason why you're doing that is because the underlying theme of what's happening deep down why you're doing that is because you're seeking validation from other people. Why do I know that? Because I lived that for the first 30 years of my life. Now, I grew up that way because I had a father that wasn't around. And when he was emotionally checked out, and he would often let me down. And I was always seeking his validation, whether if it was positive or negative. So I grew up and I took that into my adult life. So I would go out of my way to do these things to please you and enable you, thinking I was helping you, but I really was helping to keep you stuck and dependent on me. They didn't help you or me because I was tired, I was exhausted, I was frustrated. And then I would have a resentment towards you because I felt like you were asking too much of me. Now, as a result, that doesn't help anything. That's a passive communicator. If you're aggressive, you have a tendency of talking down to people, or you demand too much. You have a hard time trusting other people. You have a hard time delegating. You tend to be a perfectionist. I was that too, because I got that from my mother, because everything had to be done right. And when it wasn't, so I grew up as a passive aggressive for the first 30, almost 31 years of my life before I had to rewire the way I communicated and how I changed the way I think. And that's all I knew. I was a product of my environment. And when you are that type of person, you have a tendency, again, of not trusting people. You have a hard time delegating. You have a hard time getting through to people, and people often are turned off by you after a while, and they go the other way. So with that being said, I had to learn how to be assertive. Assertive is when you are now a specific, clear, and concise with your communication to yourself. And then you're specific, clear, and concise with other people. So if Davey said, Chris, I require this project to be done right away. Now, the old Chris would have said, well, okay, I'll take care of it. But meanwhile, I have 2 other projects I'm working on. They're due today. I'm really not happy about Davey dumping this on me. Matter of fact, I'm pretty pissed off, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know it's going to make him happy. So I'm going to do it. Now, what could I have done if I were assertive? I could have said, Davey, I know you'd like me to do this project. Before I commit, I do want to let you know I have 2 other projects that are very important that I have to get done. If this is very important, that means I have to put these 2 to the side. And now I have to let the people that I know that I'm working with, to let them know that. Can you clarify what do you mean by you require this right away? Do you need this at the top of the hour, at the end of the day, or at the end of the week? That took me 20 seconds. Okay. Now, as the communication, you are responsible for the communication. Because remember what Chris said, you can't control other people. Can I control what Chris, Linda, and Davey are going to perceive what I'm saying? I can clarify, ask further questions to be as specific, clear, and concise to all of you, but I can't control what you're going to perceive or what I'm going to say. I have no control over that. I'm only responsible as the sender or the receiver to seek clarity through being specific, clear, and concise. So when we could shift away from passive aggressive or both to assertive, we're going to be better off. That's going to allow us, even when we're focusing on our goals. And I'll get to that in a minute. Number 2 is our behavior. We can control our behavior. Our behavior is passive, aggressive, or both, or assertive. How many of you met people where they say something and then their behavior contradicts what they said? See it? Right? It happens all the time, especially in the business world when you got a boss or a leader and he said this and now his behavior says otherwise. Is our behavior assertive in alignment with our communication? We can control that. Number 3 is our attitude. It's either happening for you or to you. If it's happening for you, challenges, obstacles, setbacks, you see them as opportunities. You can't grow and expand without challenges. If everything went right for you in everything in business and life, what would eventually happen? What would eventually happen? We would become complacent, bored, and eventually create a problem, because that's what humans do.
Yep.
So challenges, obstacles, and setbacks are necessary in order to grow and expand and win, to achieve goals. Without them, you're not going to achieve. So when it's happening for you, you're the victim. Your excuses, you gossip, you complain, you point the finger. Everyone's to blame except you, no matter what cards have been dealt to you. Number 4 is our emotions and how we respond versus react to situations and people. So if something were said to me that, initial response, I'm angry. I have a choice. Can I react from it, or can I respond? Maybe I have to take a breath before I respond. Maybe I have to remove myself for 10 minutes. Maybe I have to sleep on it before I send that email the next morning. So now I can deal with my anger on my time, but now I'm going to respond from a positive emotion, because by reacting to situations and people doesn't do anything. It's just like pouring gas on the fire. That's another thing I'll tie in here later in how you can achieve goals. Finally, it's action. You can control your action. Are you busy and not productive? Because a lot of people are busy and not productive. They're caught up in things that are not even relevant to what's really important. And I use the Stephen Covey priority matrix. You have your must priorities, your should, Then the lower left, you have your coulds, and then your lower right, your avoids. Your must priorities are the priorities that are going to move you personally and your those goals to the next level. They are your must. That's where your focus must be. And many times those must priorities are going to be difficult, challenging, and to Davey's point, why we want to resist them, because they're uncomfortable. It's stretching me. I don't want to go there, but you do it anyway. That's what's going to allow you to grow. You're focused on those must. Your should are important but not urgent. Like your must are important and urgent, but your shoulds are important but not urgent. They're going to complement the must, but I shouldn't be spending most of my time in that box. That could be either sending out some emails as follow-up. Well, that could be important in some cases, but if I'm spending my time checking emails around the clock, that's not a good use of my time. I got to schedule certain times where I do that. So I'm now back in the must box where I spend most of my time. My could box is important and urgent, but there are things I can delegate. And we live in a world now in business where you could delegate a lot of things now. You got ChatGPT, you got virtual assistants, you got bookkeepers, you got resources and apps and things that can help you offset your weaknesses to focus on what you're good at. Again, putting more of your time into the must box. So anything that can be delegated, do it. That allows you to work on your business, not in it. You cannot scale and grow a business or even grow yourself if you don't delegate. You have to learn how to do that to grow in whatever capacity that is. Finally, the next box is avoid. Many people are caught up in the avoid box. Social media, they're caught up on it all day long. They're on the TV. They're checking texts. They're in these WhatsApp groups where meaningless conversations are going on and nothing happens. You're not going to be successful when that happens. I'm not saying those aren't important. They can be if they're used correctly in certain blocks of time that will allow you to then move ahead. You have to spend more of your time in that must category, not in your avoid. Those avoids got to go away. Get rid of them. Now, when you could take those things that you can control, focus on action in those areas, those 5 things. Chris said before, you can't control other people's reactions. You can't control situations or the people. If I'm spending my time focusing on those same 5 areas and other people and situations, I'm going to lose every time. If I live in a world of past and future thinking and living by expectations tied to outcomes, I'm going to lose every time. If I'm now focused, on those 5 things I can control and letting go of the other things, now operating from intentions rather than expectations, I'm in the moment. And when I'm in the moment, I can trust the process to lead to the results I seek. And that in a nutshell is how, with that, using systems and processes, we can more likely to achieve those goals. Does it mean you're going to get them verbatim? No, but they're going to be within the range and you're more likely to have better results and grow. And those are the differences when you see people having success personally in their relationships, with their well-being, with their businesses. It's because they're laser focused and they have daily routines. They're consistent and using discipline to improve and grow each day, using that process in terms of how they execute on their goals. I call it the 4 pillars of success are your foundation. That's how you think to become and do things differently to have different, better results. That's utilizing what we discussed here today. Then it's your preparation, again, using the priority matrix, planning. Number 3 is executing on those must priorities. And then 4, measuring what's working, what's not working, adapting, making adjustments, and then repeat the process every day. That'll help you achieve your goals.
So bro, I love you. I could have lip sung to everything. For anybody that doesn't know what lip singing is, it's hearing a song and singing along with it. I know Chris so well that I could have lip sung along with everything that was coming out of his mouth. Before I have him follow up on, so I just want everybody to know, I have never once, Chris and I are business partners in some areas. I have never once told him I want something right away. I appreciate he was using me as the example there. I have never once demanded that he give me something right away. I don't work like that. I just want to clarify that, and I'm just breaking his balls there. So Chris, one of the things that you hit on, Salem, that you hit on, that I know you're big on this, is the intentions and the expectations. One of the things that I was saying before you would come on was I think that people often mistake, and you've heard me talk about this, is goals and dreams are not the same, right? Dreams are something that people are chasing, goals are something that people are embracing. Now, for the audience, I want to try to tie all this back together for the audience to respect everybody's time. So, in case you haven't been paying attention, whether you were taking notes or not, how to achieve your goals with the least resistance. This boils down to a couple very simple items and very simple implementable things. Now, Linda, real quick before I do that, do you want to add anything with your smiling self over there? I see you
No,
smiling.
I will let you go with the
No?
flow. I don't want to
Okay.
interrupt that. It is beautiful.
Okay. So here's what this boils down to. The purpose of doing these shows, especially with, Linda, again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be the host of the show. One of the things that I'm a firm believer in, the other two gentlemen over there can attest to this with me. I like to bring everything full circle because at the end of the day, when we do shows, whether it's a radio show, podcast, whatever it is, and Chris, they both have their own shows too. It's about how can people take action on the topic that we're discussing. As speakers, as coaches, as consultants, whatever your title is, the objective is what can you do when we end this video to implement, to start doing? Here's some common themes. I don't know if you noticed it. Salem and Rausch come from completely different backgrounds. So do Linda and I. But here's a common theme. You heard them both say it. Routines. Morning routines are critical. And I do want to give accolades to Chris Salem for this one. When I met Chris, it feels like yesterday and 27 years ago, all at the same time. It was about a decade ago that Chris Salem came into my life. Um, I things were going well for me. I had my brand, I had my stuff going on, but Chris started talking to me about these morning routines, right? And journaling and meditating and I'm like, yeah, I do that. But Chris was like, well, I'm up at this time every day and I do this every day and I do this every day and I do this every day. And I went, oh, yeah, I don't do it exactly like that, but like I'm consistent, but he helped me realize that I'm not. So I want to tell people from my own personal experience, if you think you have a morning routine, you don't. If you feel you've got a morning routine, you don't. You need to know how to have a routine, and morning is a great time to do that. But the routine and the daily habits and being consistent with those are one of the simplest ways to face resistance. As we've all said here, it's there. You cannot avoid it. So stop trying to be a chicken poo and avoid it and face it. Face the resistance because that is how you grow. No grow, no go. All grow, all go. So it is imperative, speaking from my own personal expertise, got to be consistent with your daily habits. Start small. And what Chris Rausch said really hammers that point home. You don't have to every single day make yourself uncomfortable and take yourself out of your comfort zone. If you do it once a week, that translates to 52 times a year. You are putting yourself in a growth position. I don't know how anybody does math, but I went to Catholic school. So the last thing they taught us was math. Math was evil. But realistically, 52 is better than zero. And by the time you get to 52 times doing this, 52 weeks in a row, all of the things that Chris Rausch brought up, all of the nuggets that Chris Salem spoke to you about are going to make your goals that much more achievable and you'll be able to barrel through the resistance. So that's critical. Another thing is the people around you. Now, I am very fortunate, and I will use myself as an example here. Linda, Chris, and Chris both know my story. They all know my story, but they also know that about 10 months ago, I made a decision to do a favor for a friend, and I took over managing some properties. That took me out of our circle in a sense. That took me out of the realm as a professional speaker. It took my ability to coach clients the way that I was accustomed to out of the equation. But here is what I stayed consistent with: my habits, my routines, my actions, focusing on what I can control. Now, those goals are achievable every day we face resistance. Chris Salem faces resistance every single day. Chris Rausch faces resistance every single day. Linda, when she lives in the future, she faces resistance. When she lives in the present, she faces resistance. We're all going to face it, but the key word here is to face it and embrace it. Embrace that through a process. So something that Rausch said is going to resonate with you. Something that Salem said is going to resonate with you. Something that Davey said is going to resonate with you. But the most important thing is to get off your ass and stop chasing dreams and start embracing your goals for what they are by taking actionable steps that you can control. And that is the point that those gentlemen made from two completely separate backgrounds, two completely separate paths to find the success that they did. They are masters of their craft. I highly recommend, as is Linda. I highly recommend. This is why I wanted these guys. And we missed a speaker who was a female. So no, I'm not just tooting the horns of gentlemen. These are two guys that I knew, different backgrounds, different paths, different forms of resistance, came to the same place as some of the most respected experts in their fields. So Salem helps people. One of the things that Chris Salem does is work with people on how to use speaking, how to utilize speaking. And this is a great example because a lot of people that are going to watch this are aspiring speakers. If your dream is to be a speaker, give it up. If your goal is to understand how to utilize speaking and platforms like this to achieve something, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I highly encourage
Absolutely.
you to reach out to Christopher Rausch. I highly encourage you to reach out to Christopher Salem. I highly encourage you to reach out to someone like Linda, who's got a heart. She's got 3 hearts behind her. So do I. She gave me the background. Her heart is 3 times the size of 3 hearts. But these are intelligent, intellectual people who have achieved their goals and continue to face resistance, but have proven processes in place. And that is the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. You want to know what to do when this is over? You want to know how to achieve your goals? Make sure that they're goals. Be clear with what they are. And be clear with the people that understand your goals too, because if they don't, they are useless to you and you are useless to them, and it is a waste of your time. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Chris Salem. He knows it, I know it. But you know what? It's because of that and that mindset and what I learned that brought me to people like Chris Rausch, who is like me, better looking, a little bit older, way better looking, way more talented, but we have the same filter. There isn't one. Transparency. And Chris Salem, Linda, Chris, myself, we all share one thing in common. We are transparent in understanding what our goals are, and we are transparent in understanding that resistance is there only if we enable it to be. So stop perceiving resistance and start putting yourself in the perspective of understanding your goals and being clear with those, and you will achieve your goals with the least resistance.
And I just want
So
to add
before
that
we,
anybody,
yeah,
sorry,
please do.
Chris, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Sorry, I just let you finish first.
No, you go first.
I just wanted to add that, if you're hearing it now and you feel moved and inspired to become a speaker as well, reach out to us. So this is 3Hearts One Connection Away Speakership. We are aiming to build the Speakers Association. So anybody who wants to become speakers, just reach out to us. Any one of us, just let us know and we will sign you up. But beautifully shared, Davey. And even though today we have two beautiful Christopher here, I love it when you both up here, you're both a Christopher. There's so many nuggets, so much wisdom combined, and so amazing life stories have shared. Mine's is very different, but same thing, exactly same thing. We all face our resistance. We all face our challenges. We all have become we nothing before. And so if you're listening and you feel so inspired, just make sure you reach out to us. Don't just suffer in silence. Don't just never suffer in silence. So one of the things that I love doing is community. So I have the 3C to share with you. I wasn't going to speak. I was going to let everybody shine, but I thought I might as well share my 3C, right? And everybody know my book is connection, the currency to happiness. So the number 1C is connection. Now, like Christopher Salem said, we can go on for days on these topics that we're passionate about, like Christopher Rausch story as well. But the connection, the word connection, a lot of people think it's just networking. It's not just that. The very first place that you need to connect to is yourself, your inner self. Now, I won't go on for too long because our time is really up. Really, there's a whole day we can talk about. And the second one, really big one for me, anybody who knows me, is creativity. I was a bridal dress designer. I'm a author of the book. I teach arts and craft. I teach hand embroidery to teach self-leadership to children at school. Creativity is what creates the world. We wouldn't have the car if we didn't have creativity. So tap into that connection, creativity. And the last one is community, community. Davy said that, Christopher Rausch said that, Christopher Salem is big on that. We all are really big on community. Tap into these. So I won't go on for too long because I can go on for all day long. But I just want to jump in to say that reach out to us. Never just watch and go away. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, all of these fall back to the excuses. Right? When you watch us, when you hear us talk, you feel resonating, you feel inspiring, take action. Take action. Don't fall back to ifs and buts and no, I can't, and full of excuses before you know it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is my call of action is reach out to us. And let me share this with you. Today is the first day of Chinese New Year. I woke up very early for this. You know, I live in your future. This is Linda, the first time ever in my life that I work on Chinese New Year's Day. But I don't consider it work. Truly, Davey knows, everybody knows, I love what I do so much that it's just play for me. And that's why I didn't mind. So, but the reason why I want to share that is to say that this is how much I'm dedicated to your goal, to your achievement, and your success. I am showing up on New Year's Day, which I break my whole record in almost 54 years of my life. I'm turning 54 in March. I'm breaking all records for you. So reach out to us, okay? Reach out. Do not suffer in silence. Do not fall back to the ifs, buts, and whys, and I can't, I know, all of that. So I have said what I needed to say. I'm going to hand it back to Mr. Davey Williams to finish the show.
All right. Well, thank you, Linda. And yeah, you kind of hit on some of the things I was going to, but I know Rausch, you got to go. Salem, I know your time is precious, and Linda, I know you're working on Chinese New Year, and I'd be crying for you, but you made that choice, so boo-hoo, and I love you. I just want to thank you for the opportunity. To have the first show as the host. I'm looking forward to watching this thing grow. And I do want to express my gratitude to Linda for offering me this opportunity. Chris, Rausch, bro, I love you. You are absolutely one of a kind, and thank you for everything that you do for my life and for the world. Thank you for taking the time to be here. We are way overdue to catch up, and I take full responsibility for that. So I'm going to hit you up over the weekend just to touch base. Mr. Salem, you already know I love you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so proud to be. I don't think I'm still your protege. I think we've outgrown. I think I'm past that point now. But that to have you as a mentor.
You say it, not me.
That's what he used to. He used to tell people I was his protege because he didn't know what to call me, and then we became partners, and he called me his favorite hemorrhoid. No, that's really what I call myself with him. But thank you for taking the time, Chris Salem, as well, to be on here. If anybody would like to get in touch with us about being speakers, please do not hesitate. There are big shoes to fill when you got guys like this with me here, but I want to hear from everybody. I don't care where you are as a speaker. We all know what it's like to be at the low end of the spectrum and busting your ass to get to where you want to get to with your speaking career, and opportunities like this are a great way to do it. We're here to bring value. We're here to bring transparent leadership, authenticity. So if you're a pie in the sky person, 3Hearts Global is not exactly for you, because it is about, like Linda said, connection, community, love, empowerment. And that's what we're all about. And if you're more rough around the edges than Davey Williams, not you. But if you're somebody that's really looking for an opportunity to share your message, to share the impact, to share your stories, to help other people, and to help them grow the way that we've all been given the opportunity to do and taken the opportunity to do, then absolutely reach out to us. As we close out this first episode, Willinda, happy Chinese New Year. Christopher Rausch, bro, if you need me to send you a surfboard to surf the water, if it gets too high, don't let me know. Please do stay safe out there. Mr.
Will do.
Salem, please give Maria and CJ my absolute best. And everybody, I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed the first time with me hosting. I hope to see you all next week. We'll have another fun topic picked out for you. We will be here next Friday, 4 p.m. New York, 1 p.m. in LA. Europe and Australia, you've got apps. You tell me what time it is out there. I know it's early and you live in the future, so you tell me what those times are, and we will see everybody next Friday here at 3Hearts Global, One Connection Away speaker program. Thank you all so much for your time and attention. Make it a great day and a great weekend.
Thank you guys
Bye
for the
for
bottom
now,
hour. You guys are
everyone.
awesome. Be rock stars.
Love you, bro.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good
Thank you
weekend.
guys. I got to jet.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
I
do.
gotta
Later,
make a
brother.
call.
Yep.
All
See you,
right,
brother.
Davey, great
Thanks
job.
for showing me your phone. I wouldn't have trusted you if you didn't show me that.
No, I gotta
love you,
call somebody. I gotta call before the end of the day. I was supposed to call him, and
I
then I
love you,
got
bro.
2 proposals I gotta get out before I pick up CJ.
It's good to see you, brother. I love you.
All right,
Bye.
we'll talk
Bye.
soon.